Welcome to this video on how to apply an agile methodology in your personal life to achieve your personal goals. I will be using elements of Scrum and Kanban and show you how I personally translated them to reach my personal goals. I will create more videos on this going into the specific elements, for example, the Scrum pillars, the Scrum values, the roles, etc. But to keep it short for this video, I will just give you a quick overview of the whole thing. For this video, I will assume that you are familiar with the basic principles of Scrum and Kanban. If you are not, please check out. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on introduction to Scrum or Kanban. So basically, Scrum and Kanban are frameworks to help teams achieve their desired goals in the development of complex products, very often software development. What we will be doing is making the translation from these frameworks to private goal achievement. I'm excited to show this to you, how I apply this for myself. I'm really curious what you think about it. Maybe you have adopted a similar solution, or maybe you try it out and let me know what works for you or which changes you might want to suggest. So, if you are familiar or have spent some time working on personal goals, you know there are dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of books, articles, videos, methods out there to suggest ways of achieving your personal goals, and they all have some stuff in common. They all have their little differences. And I found personally, I have tried maybe 5 different ways of achieving personal goals. And I've never really found that one method that really helped me to, or that I was sticking to for a long time, because somehow it never really fitted my personal needs. For me, the cool thing was applying Scrum, which I'm using professionally also for client projects, which I'm used to and which I really like as a method. And I think there is so much intelligence in the framework, and every little aspect of it serves a purpose. So I really think there is a lot of intelligence built into Scrum that we can put to use in our context of private goal achievement. So now I will walk you through the most important steps of how to apply Scrum and Kanban to your private goal achievement. So the way I use it is I take 1 week sprints because that fits for me very good. I structure my life in weeks, and I like this idea of setting a goal for each week that I want to achieve, and also with this idea of Scrum to focus on really one objective per week. That's how I apply it. I try not to scatter my attention on multiple different things that I want to achieve in a week, but rather pick one really well refined goal and go for that and achieve it. And then in the next week, pick another one. And while in our complex world where everyone tries to juggle dozens of tasks at the same time, this might sound a bit old-fashioned. I really like it because there is a compound effect. If you do that for a long time, if you do that for a year or 2 years or even longer, if you achieve one goal per week that is really valuable to you, you will achieve 52 goals in a year and 104 in 2 years and so on. And the compound effect of this adding on top of each other will be incredible, believe me, or try it out. You don't have to believe what I say. So let me show you the board that I'm using to track all the different items that I'm working on. And what you see here is my ClickUp Kanban board. You can use any other tool that you like. You can use Trello, you can use Miro, you can use a piece of paper on the wall and put some sticky notes on it. What I have here on the left is my product backlog. And in my product backlog, I put everything that comes to my mind that would be helpful to achieve my personal goals. And the cool thing about it is this is your place where you can just put everything in without really worrying in the moment. Is this something that helps me achieving my goals, or is this just a stupid idea? Use it to put everything in. Before I was using that method, my attention was rather scattered, and sometimes I found myself in trying to focus on one objective, but then getting an idea in the evening and wanting to try that out immediately. So I dropped the objective that I had before. And you can imagine if this happens several times in a week, you totally lose track on what you wanted to achieve in the first place. It really helps me to just put every idea that I get into the product backlog, so there is a place for it, but then to have the discipline not to immediately work on it in the moment where you get the idea. What you see, the next column here is the sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is basically composed of a sprint goal. So that's the goal that I set for myself for this 1 week. And there are the elements that are not in progress yet, that are still planned for this week to achieve the sprint goal. You can see in the next column, that's the column of active items I'm currently working on. So as I'm recording this video right now, this element is in here, and these cards are just examples. I created that for this video so you can have a little insight of how to use it. There is one thing that I took from Kanban, which I really like, which is called the work in progress limit. The work in progress limit for this column is 1. So there is only one element allowed to be in this column at the same time. And for me, this helps applying that value of focus in Scrum, which I find really valuable. Well, it's a value. It's really helpful for me to be disciplined, not pulling multiple work items into the column of stuff I'm actually doing at one time. Looking at the next column, it's called the blocked column, and in brackets is dependencies. So here I put stuff that I cannot currently work on because there is some kind of dependency. And as an example, I put here want to buy a new camera, which might be expensive. Let's say 1,000 euros or dollars or whatever. And I have to wait until I get my salary, or I can take out some money from my company end of month. So for now, this element is sitting in the blocked column. Then there is a next column, which is called check. I took that from Kanban project management. I find it helpful because sometimes when you did something, you want to let it sit for a few days and then go over it again and check if you really did everything that you wanted to do there. And the last column is the done column. Everything that you've done is getting in there. And I really like having an overview of all the tasks that I achieved and looking at them from time to time and saying like, hey, this is great. I just can see all the work that I've done in order to get closer to my goals. So how do we apply the Scrum events now? In Scrum, a sprint starts with a sprint planning event. So I use Friday to have my sprint review, to have my retrospective, and to have my planning. And you can do it differently. You can have your planning on Monday and your review and retrospective on Friday or Sunday, whatever fits your needs. So in the planning, I look at my board, I look at my product backlog. So hopefully when you're doing the planning, all these columns are empty. And you're looking at the product backlog, you're looking at all the items that you want to achieve, and you're trying to find the most attractive goal for the upcoming week. So, what is really the goal that will bring you closer to your long term goals that you can achieve? And that is also maybe a little bit of a challenge, but the right mixture of challenge and still achievable for the upcoming week. Then you put that as your sprint goal into the sprint backlog as your top item. And in ClickUp, you can put a priority here. You can also set a date. So I could say, hey, I want to have this achieved by end of my sprint, which is Friday. And then we have the sprint goal set here. The next thing is to pull backlog items that will help you to achieve this sprint goal for the upcoming week. Let's say this stuff is still sitting in here and this is sitting in here, and let's say it's a sprint planning for you, and you're going through this list of product backlog items, and then you're saying, okay, in order to create 3 videos, I will have to record 3 videos. So let's put this here. Let's put the creating channel here. And let's put this here. So now we have our sprint backlog filled with all the items that we are defining now as necessary to reach the sprint goal. You have to create a YouTube channel, of course, to reach your sprint goal. You have to record 3 videos because that's what we set. Here are our 3 tasks for the videos. So that's basically the sprint planning. You found a goal that's attractive to you. You have set a date to it. You know what are the measures to achieve it. You could even open up this and write a definition of done. I will not go into this, it's quite obvious, but if it's a more complex goal, which maybe is not so easy to say when it's achieved or not, you could put that in there, or you could put your definition of done in here. So you could say there's a Google account created, there is a banner for your channel created, there is this other little icon created for your channel, there is a channel description, and so on. Okay, so we are done with our sprint planning, and this should not take you longer than 15 or maybe 20 minutes. If it's a complex goal, it might take longer, but usually I do it in 10-15 minutes every week. Then we have our daily stand-up meetings, or the daily Scrum, as it's called at Scrum. This is for me the first activity of the day. I sit down in the morning, I look at my board, I check, okay, what did I do yesterday? What am I planning to do today? Are there any impediments I'm facing? Is there anything that's keeping me from achieving my desired goal for the day? Is there anything blocked? Can I work on dissolving the dependency of the blocked items? And this should not take longer than a few minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, but then you're really clear and set up for the day and you know what to work on. Okay, so we are at the sprint review, which for me is taking place Friday as my first event. And we can see our goal for the sprint for this week was to create 3 videos and upload them to YouTube. If I'm looking at my done column here, the channel is created, which was a precondition for achieving that goal. And there are 3 items for videos that we wanted to create. There is this one blocked thing, but as it was not part of the sprint goal, we can have it sit in here and say, hey, cool, the sprint goal is achieved. Let's put this to the done. column, let's celebrate and yeah, maybe have a little look at the product backlog, what could be a good goal for the next upcoming week, and then end our little sprint review meeting with ourselves and go into the next event, which is called the Sprint Retrospective. In Scrum, you would take the Sprint Retrospective to look at practices of the team, to look at the collaboration, what went well, what did not go so well. Where are maybe issues with with people outside of the team that we have to look at? All these things are looked at in the sprint retrospective. And if you're doing that sprint retrospective with yourself, you can basically apply the same principles. You can look at, okay, what worked well for me this week? What did I do that helped me to achieve my goal in the desired way? What did not work so well? What did I do, or which impediments did I face that were hindering me from reaching my goals? What are maybe some assumptions that I want to try out for the next week that could help me improve my process? Maybe I'll have to skip breakfast in the morning and have it at 10 because I assume that this helps me focus better in the first hours of the morning. And then formulating that as an assumption, as something you want to try out. And you could then put it here in the sprint backlog for your upcoming week. So let's take this example of eating breakfast at 10. I put it here in the sprint backlog and have it there constantly in my vision to make sure this really happens. Another aspect I find really useful in a sprint retrospective for myself and also for teams is looking at what can I pat myself on the shoulder for. So what are things, and this is not this does not invoke a judgment if I did something good or bad, but more like, hey, I put in 10 hours this week to do sports, whatever, like just acknowledging what you did and not immediately placing an evaluation or a judgment on it and saying, hey, I did not get to this and this outcome. This is important, but not at this point, because for yourself, it's really important, in my view, to acknowledge what you did, to acknowledge your efforts, to acknowledge the actions that you took, no matter if they brought you to the desired outcome or not, but just for yourself to create this acknowledgement. So now we are finished with all the events. I gave you a quick walkthrough. So for the end of this video, let's have a look at the Agile Manifesto. So one of the principles in the Agile Manifesto is to value responding to change over following a plan. I find that really helpful to keep in mind that when you want to reach your long-term goal, which might be to have a YouTube channel with 10,000 followers. Let's take that as an example. And you are creating a plan of how you are getting there, but the world is complex and you don't really know if the steps that you want to, or if the steps that you think will get you to your desired goal will actually get you there. So the Agile Manifesto says responding to change has a higher value than following a plan. So be open for the possibility that the way to get to your goal might be totally different than you think. And with this, I want to end this video. I hope you found it useful, and I would be glad for your comments, for your ideas on this concept that I introduced you to. Let me know if it's helpful for you, if you have any changes to it. And yeah, hope to see you soon.